continue the North American LCS Summer Split. We're going to get into LMQ versus CRS in just a moment, but first, a reminder of how you can get the best deep vision in the league. Just head over to lolesports.com. While there, you can vote for the teams you think will prevail today. Just click on schedule, select week 1, and lock in your picks.
Yep, and if you are going to be in the LA area, reserve your seat to join our audience for an upcoming game day broadcast. Just click on tickets for all the details.
And of course, you can always comb through our vast stores of stats, player and team profiles, as well as rewatch any of the games you've missed from the last 2 days. LOLesports.com is your resource for all things LCS. Then, start your own fantasy dream team made up of your favorite North American and European pro players. Compete against your friends each week by racking up points based on how they perform in their LCS games. So don't miss another day to score points for assists, dragons, or smash turrets. Click over to fantasy.lolesports.com. Now, we're getting ready for our first game of the day, and while LMQ is one of the new teams to take to the North American LCS stage, CRS already know to expect a full court press the minute they hit the Rift.
LMQ is basically the embodiment of the Chinese meta, which is just go super aggressive all the time.
I think LMQ coming into this split, it doesn't really seem like the pressure affects them too much, so I think they're going to be like a really consistent, solid team.
They just look to make plays constantly, and sometimes that backfires on them.
就我们 LMQ 呢，就打法比较凶，就是因为就个人线上能力就比较强一些。
I think Zhao Zhao on LMQ is probably the best player on the team. He's just really solid. When I was on TSM, he would actually kill Bjergsen a lot in scrims, and that's really surprising considering how strong Bjergsen is.
我觉得 Expect 进了科尔斯之后，科尔斯下路应该会整体水平会提高一点，他们还是比较强的，然后要击败他们还是有一定的难度。
We played against LMQ a couple times, and I think the scrims were much more in our favor. They had one game where they took a really big lead, but we ended up when we were able to take the win.
When they come up against some of the stronger teams, we'll see how they fare. I'm honestly not sure how they'll do.
We've seen LMQ face some stronger teams already and come out very strong. CRS seeming to find ground right now, but still with new players. Let's see what they can do.
There's a lot of respect between these two teams right there. You can see X Special really expecting Xiao Xiao, and then the other way around.
Yep. So the players are loading into the lobby for our first game of the day, LMQ versus CRS. And chat, with this win, LMQ could end the first Super Week with a perfect 4-0 to start their LCS career.
That would be a nice start because they've looked very strong in their first 3 games, and they don't really show any signs of slowing down. What's impressive is actually how each match has seen a different player getting their chance to carry. Yesterday in their game against Complexity, it was actually Vasily who had that huge game on Twitch. He had 10 kills, only died once, and really just showed his propensity to play Twitch right there. But if we're going to get nitpicky about their playstyle and see maybe a weakness, they have shown a bit of over-aggression because they will kind of just always go because they think their plays will work, and they have so far. But their overextending tactics could leave some openings for some teams to bait them in, especially if they start falling behind.
Right, and while LMQ is riding this wave of momentum, CRS can't seem to get their split off the ground here. There were a lot of high hopes that the addition of Xpecial would make them a top-tier team, but they are currently sitting in 6th right now with 2 losses.
Yeah, and they've had a pretty tough schedule, to be fair. Their 2 losses were to the Spring Split 2nd and 3rd place teams, TSM and CLG. And now they're facing the team sitting in 1st place and are placing Dig later the day. So another 1st place team they're going to be playing against. It's not getting any easier. Separately, the guys on CRS are playing well, but it's a rougher and tougher North American league now. They're getting a little bit outplayed. Individually, the games are doing pretty well, but it's just not translating into victories yet.
All right, let's get right into our final day of Super Week here with the starting lineups. On the blue side, we've got LMQ. It's going to be Ackerman in the top lane, No Name in the jungle, Xiao Zhao in the mid lane, putting up those CS numbers, Vasily on 8, and more on support.
And on the red side, it is CRS. Quas in the top lane, I Will Dominate in the jungle, Voyboy in mid lane. Big cheers for him, Complicated carry, and Xpecial on support.
And Voyboy has been playing well for the team, getting some points in there for himself in the kill column and making sure the Yasuo play is very strong. However, whatever people have been bringing against him keeps his Yasuo from roaming, and that's really what helps the impact.
We actually got a couple Yasuos in this game. Xiao Zhao's Yasuo devastated CLG. Voyboy's Yasuo, even though he's picked it twice here, hasn't been able to get the victories. The silence from Soraka was incredibly key in their defeat to TSM. Xpecial as well hasn't had the most explosive debut. That bottom lane with himself and Cop hasn't been doing too well in lane. He did land some pivotal hooks in big moments, but he also missed a lot of hooks in what could have been big moments for those guys. X-Special really hasn't exploded onto the scene on Curse the way he wanted to.
And that's something him and Moore are going to be kind of fighting for in this. Both quite big Thresh players.
Banned.
Never mind.
Get that out of here.
Never mind. It's out of there. First one coming out, Cassidy will be the next. Lulu onto the board as well. We're seeing those kind of comfort picks on the top. Not really pinpointing anybody out here, but making sure they don't have to deal with it in the game.
Yeah, so
that one, yeah.
as well. So the supportive mid laners kind of going out of the way.
Yep.
I wonder if either one of these guys would be willing to pick Yasuo blind. Apparently not.
You say it, they ban it.
Who's next? To ban it. Yeah, Jax. I'm not actually sure because Ackerman hasn't shown his Jax.
2 games on the half dragon Shyvana so far. Easily keeping that lane to himself.
Quas would be pretty happy to play Mundo into Shyvana if it comes to that.
Yeah.
Don't think that's going to be a pick priority. Twitch is a very big pick priority, I think, at least for LMQ.
Of the junglers have made it all the way through. All of the junglers have made it through. Twitch will be the last ban.
I mean, if LMQ wants to try and blind pick Jax, they would absolutely have the opportunity to. But they end up going for Assassin City right here. Now remember, Lulu is banned out. That's one of the things people really like playing against LeBlanc, as well as Kassadin. That's another thing we saw played against LeBlanc to much effect yesterday. See LeBlanc involved in 10 out of 12 games. Picked just as much as she's banned.
See with Curse, you can see Dominate and Quas both actually discussing what is going to be happening on this one. Seeing Ackerman pick that up for Xiao Xiao means that LMQ again is going to continuously go hard this game. Something they can get kills with, picks with anywhere. See if Curse can kind of put pitch in that cog if they can throw an Eve somewhere into the mix.
Yeah, Eve's been banned a whole bunch so far in the LCS, and I mean, the Lucian here is a smart pick. Definitely an NA, the 280 carries that everyone is prioritizing are Lucian and Twitch, and then it feels like there's a big gap between the next ones.
Yep.
But we were talking about this after the games yesterday as a group here of casters, and we don't really think there's a huge drop as far as 80 carries go. It's just the familiarity and the training these guys have put into Lucian and Twitch is what's making them the high priority picks, but it's really more of a luxury than a necessity to pick them early.
They go for the luxury on the side of Curse for sure. And Morgana's somewhat being hovered over right now. Ackerman's going to go for 3 straight games now on that Shyvana.
Yeah, well, for
4 straight, I should say, sorry.
It's not broken, so don't fix it. Don't fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah, there you go.
Got to talk your way through some of these at the end. It makes perfect sense. I feel like Curse will probably end up going Mundo in the top lane to go against that. That's a matchup Quas is really experienced in. There's also a really good chance we get to see lane swaps in this one. Not entirely sure what Facility's going to break out as AD carry. Maybe a Caitlyn to go against Lucian. That has been his other favorite, especially in solo queue when the Lucian or the Twitch isn't available. The question is, how aggressive is Curse going to go with their team comp?
Very slow on the pickups here for Curse.
I say those aren't their picks. Go out on a limb.
Just possibly. Boy, he does not shy away from that Akali. Himself would get an assassin against an assassin, but they decide to switch it back around. Quas liking Trundle, liking Jax.
Yeah.
Just those top laners.
I do
Goes
like
for the
that.
Jax this time, though.
Yeah. Jax against Shyvana. If he gets a small window against Shyvana and he's a good Jax player, we'll generally see him take over in the game here. Besides against the Mundo, which is a champion he is more familiar with. But the Jax has definitely shown much more power as of late and is often banned or first picked away. Getting it this late into the draft is kind of a steal.
Actually, forgot who I was talking to yesterday about it, but I was like, where'd Annie go? Why Annie?
Yeah.
And there she is, getting picked up. Definitely, I think the answer was it's kind of the all-in initiation. Once you want to initiate, you're pretty much there, and people are liking the safety a little bit more.
Yeah, now you can just use Morgana, initiate from 1300 range away with the Dark Binding, and then go. But Annie, she goes, she goes.
Oh, boy.
He's probably going to get a mid lane against LeBlanc. He's got to be careful to pick something a little bit defensive so he doesn't get LeBlanced. He's picked Syndra into that many times before.
He hovered Syndra the other day as well. Just the other day.
They're like giving Boy a nice one-on-one lane advantage. That would be pretty nice too. That makes the most sense.
Dive onto, wow, that makes a really great fight composition coming in here for Curse. And that's really where they excel. It's when they get themselves into that group and they're able to take a strong fight. And we've said before, Curse is a team that is able to win fights when they're down in gold. It's just getting it when they actually have the advantage and making the right moves from there.
They've been some really tough losses for Curse. And what they're doing with this team composition is they're trying to make sure that late game their scaling doesn't fall off. They have really powerful late game fighters there with Kale and Jax. Although they are a little auto attack reliant, Kale and Jax really need that. They need to keep their distance from Lee Sin to avoid that attack speed, so that's actually going to be really huge in this one. But I do like the Curse team composition overall. They're preying on their solo lanes, doing quite well.
Yep, so let's check out your predictions here over at LOLesports.com, where 81% of you are saying that LMQ are going to win and make it a 4-0 Super Week.
A lot of LMQ hype coming in, but you can also send your predictions with each twist and turn of the game to @LOLesports, and then use the hashtag LMQWin or CRS win. And we will be updating that Twitter poll throughout the game.
So we'll see how Cop does coming in on Lucian here. He definitely went back for a big comfort pick on Misfortune the other day, and the team felt comfortable with it. And that kind of tells me that Curse is still feeling things out. Let's say, can we do that? Is there enough safety for you to go back to that utility AD carry that'll kind of shred damage from the back line? And it didn't, but there's still, they need to figure out what will work.
Yeah, getting interrupted by that Shyvana ultimate, if you think back to the day one, was not good for them. And honestly, Curse is in this really difficult situation where they actually feel like they've improved quite a lot with the acquisition of X Special and the strong finish they had to the spring split. But everyone else in the league may have actually improved a little bit more, compared to where Curse is at. So they really need to prove themselves, and it kind of sucks to be Curse right now if you're not winning these games, just because they have a potential to go 0-4, even though they're still a good team.
Yeah. It's just as you said, frustrating losses. The possibility being there at every turn to take the win. We'll see if they can put that in. That's the second time he's done that. It's just a little love tap at the beginning of the game.
No name starts games. It's like, just so you know, I skilled up Q.
Always.
Don't expect anything special.
Throw in at Xiao Xiao, just to let you know.
Lower his hit rate to make himself look like a more vulnerable jungler.
Already got the ward down going from Xpecial. It's going to be at towards their blue, so they will leave that breadcrumb so they can make their way towards the top side. Looks like they really want to stop. LMQ actually has done this more than once and just kind of set up for defense. They're okay with saying we can go completely even in the early game.
They have a lot of confidence in their lane's ability to just straight up win. And it's shown through these times, and that's basically what you do when you set up a couple river wards and then just let the other team invade. You're setting yourself up for counter invades and hopefully not getting yourself caught.
Good shift in the percentage there. Everybody waking up and getting themselves on social media. And it looks like Curse is still going to go for the invade. A little bit allowed here. Ackerman making his way to safety. And they do make the first move. So Curse, with something in mind, going to activate for it. Very good ping by LMQ. I thought they were going to try to get him on the way out.
Yeah, all the trinkets out as well. You can see they even put the ward in the lane to try and see where LMQ is going to be sending their Caitlyn. Also note that there's a boot start on Xpecial. He really wants to be able to just get in range for the stun, and that actually speaks to me that they're going to either be ganking his lane a lot or trying a little bit of a 3 or 4v1 at the start just to get the stuns and maybe an early first blood.
Great early wards. Xpecial doesn't even see that one going through the brush, but LMQ makes the right move and the easier move. It's safer to do this for both teams. They're going to go ahead and get that blue up.
So Curse also just saw Vasily walk into the top lane, which will mean they actually are going for the lane swap here as Cop runs all the way through the jungle just to get that. They don't want to lane against Vasily's Caitlyn. They'd much rather swap and then just try and farm it out. AD carries in general have been farming a lot better this split when compared to last because it's not getting fast pushed down anymore. They're just getting about 7 minutes of farm time in all of their lanes. So their CS and 10 has improved across the board.
Ackerman looks like he's trying to get that wave crushed in as well, so that shared XP going to Quaz and Dominate. He got a bit of a wave to himself. We'll see if he can sustain now in that 2v1 situation. It's going to be kind of tough for him. Keeping an eye on Voidboy. Saw, I think it was Pole Belter leveling the E, going back and forth with what he would level. We'll see what Voidboy does on his in the mid lane.
We've seen different Yasuo skill orders by both these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe different Kale skill orders as well. It depends how tradey he wants to get with LeBlanc. So far, 1 point W, 1 point E on Kale. No surprise, because it's all about shoving LeBlanc in early on in the game. No one really matches Kale's shove at this point.
Keep an eye on how No Name plays as well as Xiao here. Somebody who always gets a ton of farm, and No Name allows that to happen in his jungle. These guys can play it very cooperatively. And here for one, gets the ethereal chain on. That's going in. He can get the Tempest down. The cripple as well. Already flashed it out. The ignite, the auto attacks. He has to flash. One last hit, and Dominate will not be in range.
I mean, that's just LMQ picking on Voyboy's playstyle right there. And even just the playstyle of Kale in general, wanting to shove in the lane by level 3, maybe backing and buying an early item, or even getting ward control up at that point. And he just left himself vulnerable. As soon as he went past the halfway point, big skill shot land by Xiao really keyed all that off, and then No Name was really just there to secure the kill. Great job.
Very fast play. LMQ giving themselves a quick upper hand. Special onto Ackerman here as he gets in range for a bit of experience.
Quick flash. That was a nice job of hiding in the brush for an extended period of time by Special, making Ackerman think he was safe for a little while, and they can freeze that lane out and get a little bit of experience on him.
So it looks like Quas, depending on what he's gotten in the jungle, he is 11-6 on Ackerman, getting bullied in this bottom lane. He is trying to get golems, and he's almost dying to it right now. 3-2, 3 now for more in this top lane. We'll see how they get out of the lane. They said it was going to be hard to play against Cop and Special, so...
Yeah, so they're not even doing that
right
at the point. They're just going to their own lane. Something I really do want to touch on again, though, is just that mid lane gank by LMQ. Because they've been attacking the mid lane more than the other teams in the North American LCS early on, especially with the way these teams are playing the start of the game, where they have the AD carrying support basically alone in a lane free farming, and then you have double junglers. That actually, in theory, should make the mid lane more of a battlefield, because you have 2 or potentially 3 roamers if you count the support as well. And 4 people could arrive in the mid lane at any given time. Teams haven't really started doing that yet, and I honestly don't think mid laners are ready to get ganked this much, because I really do think mid lane ganks are going to increase exponentially as teams get more and more used to this strategy. LMQ's ahead of the game, though, gets the first blood onto Voyboy.
And it almost just plays into LMQ's hands. You heard them saying, well, our lanes are so confidently strong that they can do whatever they want. So it's not No Name trying to repair and fix things. They do whatever they want, and usually that's been mid lane, striking first. Bit of damage here. Dominate can't even get that close. No Name, right spot at the right time. He's trying to stave off a bit of damage.
Ackerman saved his teleport as well after getting harassed down. He knew the lane was going to freeze for a while, and he's just kind of farming away. This is beneficial for the Shyvana team when the Jax gets denied so heavily on farm early on in the game. Shyvana will scale much better off of levels alone than the Jax will, whereas Jax needs a few items before he really gets going. Quas is doing his best to just farm the jungle camps, but Ackerman looks to be stronger if they end up fighting around level 6 or 7.
Yep. Teleport is coming back up. We've seen some pretty early dragons here at the start of the summer split, but it looks like both teams are pretty content. Just trying to get a little bit more out of these lanes before they go for an objective. More, even just putting on that mental game of harass and trying to give Quas a hard time. He's level 5 though, they're getting up there. Voyboy and Xiao, who actually just hit level 6, goes in onto Voyboy, knowing he can get that extra damage.
Think about that play, though, by Moore. That was really aggressive. They're against an Eve, and he's harassing the double golems. It's like there's no fear for anyone on LMQ of Dominate right now, and he needs to kind of make something happen so they start respecting his play. This is what we were talking about before the game, how LMQ will just play aggressively because that's the way they play, and they're forcing the other team to stop it before they're willing to stop.
They just keep coming at you. Curse even said it themselves in the video. Getting some wards down. Special and Cop, as Special said, coming off a team solo mid, they would never really go aggressive unless they knew where the jungler was. Wards are going to assist that, but so far they've been keeping it pretty safe unless Dominate comes down. Here we are, actually, not a super early dragon. They wait another minute and a half, but they are going to try and get that early advantage from that kill.
This is something that Curse has been doing all season long. If we count the spring split, it seems like every game we watch Curse, they're getting the first dragon between 6 and 8 minutes. They're really good at that. And it does sacrifice their lanes a little bit. We'll see if that costs them, because you can see already now, because, you know, Jax went down there. There's a bunch of free time for everyone else. 17 CS on the mid lane, 52 CS on the mid lane, 17 on the top lane for Quas. They're going to need to play a little bit of catch up despite getting that dragon gold that will help everyone out a little bit.
And LMQ does not like the fact, or maybe want to work on something, the fact that they just lost Dragon, and they say, we'll go in here. We also take more as well. If there's a fight, we'll be able to come out on top. So taking a little bit if they lose a little bit. LMQ trying to play reactively here, so Curse gets the better of him on that one. Yeah, Red buff is out, though.
Exactly. It's just a straight up
Yep.
buff trade. The ward over the wall there by X Special. Tips Dominate off. Team play across the board there. Getting a red buff trade, unless No Name would have went straight forward, but he's not exactly tipped off. He's going to see him in that ward because Dominate is not stealth yet, and he'll know his red's gone.
Ooh, I like the play by Curse, sending AD and support in the top lane, seeing that Silly had not bought. They forced him back. And it looks like they're not trying to... Oh, they are freezing it. I was going to say they were pushing it, but nope. They freeze it right back. Ackerman's going to take that, and they'll go to the bottom lane. So LMQ skirting around the issue here.
Yeah, just a bunch of farming from both guys. As far as the AD carries are concerned, they're doing the full lane swaps at the moment. A little surprising. The AD carries are even in items, especially with no Dragon on the board. It's smart of Curse to go up top. They're probably hoping that LMQ actually plays it exactly this way because they want to be able to get that turret down. It'll be interesting to see how well they can push in Ackerman.
Another game where Voidboy is forced to stay mid. Intervention goes down, and that means Xiao has the next kill coming up for himself, forcing Voidboy to back.
That first pick LeBlanc, Riv,
Yeah.
for Xiao. This guy has performed on every single mid lane pick he's done so far. And
It's not
really
the first time
dominated
he's
lane.
blind picked either. He did his Asua too.
So not only has he gotten that kill, we're 9 minutes 30 seconds in. His CS at 10 is looking to be massive right there. He's at 88. With the next minion wave on the way, looks like his 90 is going to be what he sits at for a CS at 10 minutes, which is well above average.
Keeping himself from being pushed into the turret. It's already hard enough to farm with a LeBlanc, but
Maybe it kills
my
well.
word, that is the kill coming in. As the Ethereal Train procs it out. Double buffs now for mid. That means he's going to refresh on that one, I believe him. No, it was just a red from his own.
Dominate caught completely off guard by that damage. He gets up to 93 CS in 10 minutes, as well as being 1-0 and 1. Xiao, the true carry here of LMQ. We knew it was kind of him and Vasily each game. They're really embodying that two carry playstyle more than others, with Ackerman just chipping in as that tank, and it's working fantastically for them.
What great play. Quas trying to get in to do the AoE on Counter-Strike. Dark binding immediately. And they're just going to play this one tit for tat until they grab the turret, and they'll wait for most of that experience to be drowned out. 2-0 now, a bit of an 800 gold lead for LMQ, and that's really all they need to start putting the pedal to the metal in the way they play.
Yeah, No Name actually trying to stop that pink ward. Let's see what they can do.
That's going to be a force flash for X Special. He has his Ignite and Flash up.
No,
He's
they're trying to bait
and
this.
dominate. Yep. Ackerman going very low. Cop getting some good damage out with the calling. Dashes forward. Finalizes it as he gets hit backwards. No Name not quick enough on the kit.
And this is kind of textbook Curse in the first two games of the split. They're falling behind a little bit early by 1,000 gold or so, and that's when they make the play, but it never quite pulls them all the way ahead. This is just like their first two games in the split so far. I think we're in for another good one between them and LMQ. Curse needs to come out on top this time, though, to avoid starting 0-3.
We'll get money down on this turret. They should just definitively take it. Cop's going to wait as much as he can, though. Same thing with Vasily in the bottom lane. 2 minutes on to Dragon. Everybody's going to be prepped for that, looking at ultimates or summoner spells. It does look like Curse will be an advantage.
Yeah, and another look at this one. It was actually the reverse of the normal pink ward bait that we get to see. And because Ackerman and No Name balled up so much, Cop does a whole bunch of pass-through damage on that Lucian. Dominate didn't even become involved. They basically won that straight up 2v2, so not a good idea for No Name to jump over that wall and try to duel with Ackerman. Remember, Ackerman is the underfarmed team member right now, whereas the farm is being channeled into Cop. He is much stronger and showed you why right there.
Kind of see LMQ. They do try to take off a little more than they can chew sometimes, but they don't do it too many times. They'll realize that mistake, and they probably won't make it again throughout the rest of the game. The turret's been dropped by Curse, so they're kind of trying to keep that map pressure equal for now. Not as many forward wards as they had before, but in the top lane, Ackerman and Quas now putting themselves on an island. Should be a pretty good battle for the next good 20 minutes between those two.
Yeah. Finally, we get to see the lanes shake out a little bit.
Yeah.
Quas has the turret at his back, so a little bit more safety. However, he's down in CS, and Ackerman is looking to bully. But a level 8 Jax can definitely trade a little bit of damage back. Also, Quas is the one with lifesteal. So the overall sustained battle would be won by him if they have an extended fight. That's why Ackerman wants to shove up as quickly as possible, and then just kind of get out of there.
Really liking this composition from LMQ. Xiao finishing the Deathfire grasp. If they can't really catch the fight, you have Ace in the hole to finish off that guy. They really have a scary team fight team here. But CRS is known for their team fighting as well. Dominates calls to go in and go strong. Really something he's known for.
Yeah, you can definitely see LMQ trying to make the plays now. I think they need to be a little bit cautious that they don't let this game get too late. Because the Kale plus Jax on the other side, you know, despite Voidboy getting beat up a little bit by Xiao, he's still at 108 CS. He still has his Nashor's Tooth completed already, and we know Kale can do crazy things late in the game. This Dragon fight's going to be huge, though. LMQ has the vision advantage already, which makes it very dangerous. Nice stun over the wall.
Got out the stun as well from Special.
Dragon. That's all they needed. I mean, he ate the stun from X Special. There wasn't immediate follow-up. And it's a stun and an ultimate on the block for Dragon. As long as they can rotate mid here and stop this push, it's going to be difficult.
They got the damage. No Sheen yet coming in for Lucian, so they're not going to have super big hits coming in on the front end of that turret, but they do get it down to just below half, using Tibbers as a bit of a tank, but really good coordination. LMQ was about to back, but they all said, let's kind of shift mid and save our turret.
All the while, though, Vasily was actually farming the bottom lane, so that was a 5v4 defense. CRS was down Tibbers, but they still respected the play from LMQ enough to not trade back the turret. It means LMQ gets a Dragon for pretty much nothing. And onto Voidboy again.
Xiao going crazy. Look at 140 CS for Xiao, 134 for Vasily, and he was in a lane farming with his support, pretty much free farming.
Yeah.
Xiao has been fighting Voidboy and still is up. Amazing, just incredible.
Goes to show you the skill of this guy in the mid lane. Hopping inside, then
playing
sweeping.
the fog of war games now.
Yeah, knowing that Voidboy can't see him right here. There's a chance he thinks he went back. Might be going in for something big here. Oh, that was smooth. So what he actually did is he cleared the wave with Distortion so he could land his chain. Voidboy didn't have the safety of the minions. But Voidboy burned his ultimate right away, which is as he should, and ended up taking no damage from it. So it was actually a better play by Voidboy. Slick on both sides.
Yeah, very slick indeed. Nashor's Tooth finish for Voidboy. We'll see what build he continues to go with. Leaving himself without boots, using that heal to keep himself safe with the movement speed. Coming up on 16 minutes in the game. LMQ has just taken Dragon, so they're pretty much happy with the gold they've received, the items they've just created, and they're waiting for CRS to kind of push in and try and maybe pressure themselves into this mid turret. CRS has seemed to want it for the past few minutes, sending more 3 or 4 mid. Ackerman now to the top.
It's definitely a more passive LMQ than we've seen.
That's true.
They have went for a few plays early on in the game, but especially when that play backfired in the top lane between No Name and Ackerman. That was the last of the aggression we really saw. Although CRS is, in turn, playing very defensively, which would really make LMQ kind of overcommit if they want to make anything happen.
Right.
Which is why we're seeing this 3-kill game 16 minutes in.
And that's almost something that you would expect. CRS sees LMQ come in 3-0, beat out CLG the way they did in such a back-and-forth game. You know this is not going to be easy. Mistakes are made. You fall behind so much farther than usual. Ackerman should be good on the burnout on this. Voidboy also doesn't have too much far vision past that.
Especially with CRS picking such a late-game composition here with Jax and Kale. They have every reason to play this one passively early on in the game. And just kind of hope to avoid the LeBlanking as they're moving around. They've done a pretty good job so far, even though Xiao is farming up a Storm. Voidboy, because he went to the side lane, is catching up his own farm, but he, in a sense, took it away from Quas. That was farm that Quas could have been able to pick up, and now Quas is stuck at 75 on Jax, who arguably needs just as much farm as Kale. One of the tricky things about picking two such heavily scaling solo laners, there's only so much farm to go around.
We were looking at for Xiao.
Oh, Quas.
Himself loves to get all that CS.
So I imagine Xiao would jump over the wall and then No Name would safeguard to him if they decided to go for something. Quas is playing this one real careful. They make sure they're not sitting on a ward. They're going to wait for their cooldowns once again. And I feel like as soon as Quas starts feeling a little bit safe, they're going to want to go for him. They're spending a lot of time to set up this kill.
Safest farming NA.
He is being so careful. He knows LeBlanc has a DFT and has seen him a little bit ago. So this is very smart by Quas.
2 levels up.
Full vision. Yeah. Xiao gets bored.
Ooh.
Well played by Quas.
Just giving a wave. Just giving him a wave.
6 cents.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, Xiao definitely having a little bit of fun here in the bottom lane. Cross trying to get the CS. He can. And I got to be careful. Like you said, they're not going as hard as usual. We know LMQ to be like a team that just keeps shooting on the net. No matter if it's going in or not, the shots keep coming.
Yep. They're just going to keep trying and trying. And oftentimes, like that,
the shots just keep coming.
Eventually, it's going to go in at that point, and he gets the kill on a Quas. They will try the same play again and again and again, even if it's not working. As we said, I mean, Quas was just hiding in that brush. Instant he feels safe. DFG right as the first chain lands. He didn't get the full damage, but he got quite likely enough, finishing up Quas with that last auto attack.
Curse. They look hungry now. They were moving as a pack. That was a ferocious little move towards the Dragon Pit, but it looks like they back off. They know there's a minute, and they'd rather have what they need for that fight and then possibly taking something after. LMQ is going to get themselves. Nope, Moore actually stops the back. Curse formulates in mid. So LMQ wanting that Dragon as well. They did just get the last one. With being able to take Quas down, he's still not as big as he needs to be. So this fight for Dragon is going to be very hard for Curse.
Yeah, and Voidboy also doing a slightly different build than we've seen on Kale.
Yeah, not Third Greaves.
Both in skill order and in item build. He's went for max CDR with the cooldown boots and the Nashor's Tooth, and he's also maxing his heal second. It's almost like he's just trying to survive Xiao in lane to make sure his ultimate's always up every time LeBlanc's ultimate is up, instead of going for the kill pressure. He's going to have a much lower amount of burst damage because he's not putting points in Q. And he's also not going to have the team fight shred that you would gain from the Hurricane and the Berserker Greaves that all the other Kales have been doing recently. It just means it's going to be even longer until Voidboy becomes relevant in this game.
Was forced to play your champion out of pure utility. Right on.
And then he still
Voidboy.
takes a truckload of damage afterwards.
Yep. Can't do much about it. He has the intervention, so it's going on somebody else if they even want to try this. Dominate could maybe get a nice ultimate down here. Agony's Embrace looking to hit. They spread beautifully. LMQ just splits. Allow nothing to happen.
Such confidence by LMQ. They man-moded that Dragon 4v5 knowing they could teleport in. And Curse respected the teleport almost a little bit too much. It was going to be delayed if they decided to pile in there. They were low on the Dragon, but Curse respected it because they didn't have proper vision control and they were afraid of it. And then even when he started the teleport, they backed away before he even had to finish it, allowing Ackerman to push up the wave even more so and granting LMQ yet another advantage.
31.3 to 27.4. They did not let Curse have a lead for very long, or even close to a lead for very long. 3-1 in kills. Quas is going to be taking the red. Ackerman's going to be staying top lane. So now LMQ really in the driver's seat of whatever they want to do. Looking at a 1-3-1 right now, and all the lanes are in control.
And that is LeBlanc's brush now. Xiao has claimed ownership. It's a really nice strategy with LeBlanc that we're seeing more teams do now, especially when the enemy team is quite squishy. Oh, dear. That didn't work.
Desperation move.
That was their attempt to get aggressive. Now they're down flash ultimate. Xiao is seen in a ward, but he's going to want to go for something regardless. Not after that sweep. Anyway, what we were talking about with the LeBlanc split pusher is even though she doesn't kill turrets, she provides an unfightable 1v1 presence. The only person they maybe put against is Kale, and he can block the ultimate once and continue the wave clear, but he can't return a kill onto LeBlanc. We just saw he took out Jax, which means Quas can no longer go to that lane. No way Cop can go to that lane if he can kill a Jax. And it just means that that's a lane that Curse can't farm it safely without putting a large part of their team over there.
And that's kind of where you get the short end of the stick, though, because then you go mid or you go top and you can't farm in those lanes either because of just how LMQ plays it. Intervention to come out already. Xiao will have all that back up within just a few seconds, but Voidboy's those heals now.
And this is why he did the build. Look at his cooldown on his ultimate. It's at 38 seconds there. You can see on the bottom left of the screen where Xiao, his ultimate will be up a little bit faster. He's only got about 10 seconds left on it. But unless he does it immediately, it's a much smaller window with which he can kill Voidboy. And that's really all Voidboy's trying to do is survive that because it's the only thing they can really do against Xiao. He wants to go in immediately once again, though. Watch for it.
Alt just came back up. There's the 1-2 shot. Voidboy felt he was a little safe. And the full distortion on that one is Voidboy putting out a bit of damage in those few shots.
Yeah, but he still has to go back to
base.
Oh, yeah. They did protect the turret, so that's the mini game that Xiao and Voidboy are going to be playing. I think if you're Curse, you're actually okay with those trades. Voidboy played it really damn well. He kept his farm up, he saved the turret, and he made Xiao go back to base. That's all you can ask for.
So what do you do as a jungler in this situation? because it's kind of a toss-up. You just become
Yeah.
with the pack.
Dominate's basically been irrelevant because LMQ has had so much pressure in places. Without the follow-up, he's not going to be able to create kills. X-Special needs to be able to land the stuns while Dominate's there to actually make plays happen. And he just hasn't had the presence. Look at all the wards inside of Curse's jungle. And with a LeBlanc roaming on the other side, he's too scared to go in his blue side jungle. It's just map control of LMQ keeping Dominate at bay.
229 and 240 to the 207 and 200. Those mids and the 80 carries. Xiao and Vasily always putting up big numbers in that column. Ackerman surely winning his lane as well at 161 to 139. So the words that LMQ speak in the beginning in their video, they are true. They are confident they will win their lanes, and 99% of the time they have, being 3-0 here in the summer split.
Monster CS numbers, great jungle control. They're really just slow playing this game and hoping that they accumulate a big enough advantage to overcome the Kayle and Jax late game. It's actually a little bit risky the way they're playing here, but Curse isn't allowing them windows with which to aggress unless LMQ is really stupid about it.
Definitely the first time that LMQ hasn't gone for another turret or something else. It seems like they just keep gunning. Have the safety on for now. They're waiting 2 minutes on Dragon. Maybe that's
Yeah, but I mean, look at what they're doing right now. They have control over both
eating
jungles.
everything. Yeah.
The amount of golden experience they are getting ahead of Curse is quite extraordinary at this point. Just look at the death cap onto Xiao and the CS numbers on Vasily. He's going to be completing his last Whisper probably within the next 3 minutes. He's sitting on 1,000 gold right now. And then they're really going to be able to start getting aggressive. I think they're just waiting for their big item breakpoints, knowing they're generating so much more gold than Curse right now. Then they'll get aggressive. They're playing it smart.
Although they are going for kills, it's a little bit different of a game. That can be said because Curse is avoiding dying with slivers of health, but I believe lowest kill game for LMQ almost here. It's usually Vasily, Xiao, and Ackerman with some kills at this point, but Xiao is just taking off a little more they can chew once again. That's going to be a very nice shutdown for Void Boy. Great gold going to him.
I mean, think about what Xiao has been doing to Void Boy. It was just the same plan in a different lane. That time, Curse was really ready for it. They said, all right, when Void Boy goes to a lane, LeBlanc's going to be there. He's going to try to DFG spike. He's going to use distortion. As soon as I ult, he's going to jump back. Then he's going to try to go again. Curse can see that plan. And this time, they came up with a counter for it. We'll see if that's enough, because it is just one kill.
Let's see who bites back harder on this one. Looks like Ackerman's going to take a good amount of damage as Quas. Even his play seemed like he knew he wanted to win that fight a level down. Dragon's Descent is up. Teleports are actually down for Quas, but up for Ackerman here.
But Ackerman can't heal back up. Quas should actually jump on him, like right now.
like right now, and cause that Dragon's Descent to have to happen. A good amount of minion damage, yeah.
He's worried about people waiting for him. I mean, they're respecting LMQ an absurd amount right now, thinking that all the aggression is being backed up for reasons. But that's not the way LMQ plays. Half the time, there's no one behind them. The other half the time there is, though, which makes them so hard to play against in these high-pressure situations.
Well, if you try to play like that all the time, then you're going to strike that fear into your opponent's mind. And that's exactly what we see Curse kind of wavering on right now. Slowly getting the vision that they can. They're not even approaching Dragon. They feel like LMQ is just going to fly over the wall. They're being very cautious. 3 sweepers at the same time going on both sides. Dominate. An intervention stops the rest of that damage. Beautiful hitting special. Lands the final flash. And Timbers that he needed to start this one off. Ackerman's going to get some good damage here. Boy needs to get out of that damage in the middle of the fight. Turns around. Going to start using that blue buff once again. That now goes to No Name. And it looks like Moore and Vasily are stuck in between the entire team of Curse. A shot over. No counter strike from Quas as it's on cooldown, and they will not be able to follow here. So they're just going to try to get a little bit of ground.
It's still a 2-for-1, and for the second fight in a row, they are piling onto Xiao. They're waiting for him to commit, and then they are countering with that. Great job by Void Boy, as well as Maxed Heal kept him alive, actually, just long enough for that fight. And as soon as he reses, his ultimate's going to be back up again. So really nice job there. Watch how, as they go for Dominate, Void Boy barely reaches them for that. And X Special, it was a team plan. They had made the call. Wait for Xiao to come in, and then pile on. It's exactly what they do. They get the kill, and it ends up being a 2-for-1.
Curse does it again, coming from behind in gold to take a fight in their favor. Not much ground can be gained from that one. A fight in the mid with no waves pushed, but the Dragon still sitting here, and this actually looks quite scary. There we go, the smite coming in. Dominate was able to get there. Xiao was just on the end, and that could have got scary, but Curse brings it within 4.
So strange, Riv. Curse is really good at making plays when they're behind.
Yeah.
It's happened all these games. If they can only get a handle on their early game, it's almost the opposite of how they were playing last split, where they'd have a good early game, be even, then make a few mistakes and start losing it. Maybe that's X Special's mid-game shot calling coming into effect, but they're not doing it in the early game. It's such a tough situation to be in because they've made a couple good plays, but at the end of the day, they're still down 4,000 gold. They're still in position to lose this game, in a sense, despite making a lot of really nice plays. It's a shame that they're playing so many close games. This is the one they really need to win. Otherwise, they're just going to get demoralized in the long run.
Yeah. This one, not exactly at the level of super stressful. Everybody's doing what they need to in this game. Quite close, to say the least. 4 turrets to 2. Not too much map pressure really being super gained by LMQ. They have it, but they're not really forcing it, as we've been saying. Getting their wards down now, it seems like they realized they took a little too much time to activate on something. So they're going to go ahead, continue to take back this jungle, move on to the turrets.
Yeah, you're right. They maintain the jungle control for the most part. Voyboy with the 40% CDR, though, and not spamming his spells. Doesn't really need the blue buff. Could be another reason he went for the cooldown boots. He's working towards that Void Staff. That's when Voyboy's really going to be getting his damage. Quas actually getting some free time to farm now, up to 180 in the side lane. And that just means LMQ has to up their game as well. They're going straight for Baron, knowing that Curse has now opened up a bit of farming opportunity, and they need to pull Curse towards them before Curse gets too strong.
30-minute Baron coming up on the clock. No Name making sure that everybody stays at bay. He gives everyone a bit of knowledge before necessary. More taking so much damage on this one, but that's to leave everybody else more always acting as the bait in these. It's not going to be the culling to take it down. The smite easily coming in for LMQ. They planned it out a few moves ahead, and they have no pressure on a Baron.
Yeah, that's been 15 minutes of ward control inside of Curse's jungle without them going for Baron. So even though we can say from the outside, oh, Curse should have known they're going for Baron, it's the time of the game where they can kill it quickly. Well, yeah, but they're also against LeBlanc, who they've been trying to systematically bait out, and Xiao is so reliably going for things. Finally, LMQ changed it up. They went for Baron at the moment where they had good ward control. And Curse, they checked it, but it was too late for them to do anything about it.
And Xiao now ridiculously big. The Void Staff completed at 289 CS. Vasily actually passing him up, but he's not looking at any magic resistance on the other side. Maybe a Chalice and a Hex Drinker. Everybody else is going to pop like a balloon.
Yeah. Real quick pop. No Aegis of the Legion coming out on Dominate. He's going more for individual tank items. He's going to want to take on Vasily, who's getting really strong. But honestly, Curse is putting a lot of stake into Voyboy's ability to intervention on the right target. Because LeBlanc can switch targets, especially when she has this much ability power, even after using one spell on someone, and still blow up another one. It's going to be a difficult team fight here for Curse, but they still can do it if Voyboy basically guesses right and outplays Xiao.
About 90% through that blue buff on Xiao. Got a good wave coming into mid here. Looks like he will go again back down towards the bottom lane. So he gives confidence to the 4 members in mid. Go back to that split push.
Yeah, it's going to be real difficult for Curse to come back here. They've punished Xiao twice, but not taken huge advantages afterwards. LMQ is looking to make their move right here. It's going to be all about whether Curse can maintain ward control to stop Xiao from just getting that one pick, because that's really what they're playing for. Doesn't quite land his chain. That's big.
Missed out on that one. An attempt that would really put LMQ. That's what they rely on. Taking him out would have allowed anything to happen down towards the bottom lane. Turrets down. So LMQ's adjustment for now actually goes awry. They're forced to wait a little bit. Dragon's coming up in 2 minutes, so they have that to use as well. And with the upper hand of Randuin's now being created, it's going to be harder for these chases to come in for Curse in the fights they're already having trouble with.
So much trouble. No magic resist built on Quas. If he gets a little bit of magic resist, he could pose a real threat to the LMQ team as a whole. Vasily trying to keep pace, become a late game Caitlyn monster, which will happen if he gets to his 4th or 5th offensive item.
This is going down.
Yeah, this is the much harder turret to defend here, especially if Xiao walks around the side where No Name's actually going right now to flank. Curse is looking quite formidable in their defense.
Special has the flash. Tibbers up. And we will surely see that if he can get into range. Almost taking out Vasily there. 90 caliber net to safety for him. And LMQ continues to just soak up and deny any experience that Curse could be grabbing. said before, Dominate not really allowed to have an effect in this game. He's kind of just been following around, hoping to get the right initiation. LMQ is such a team that does such good positioning. You can't hit Malphites on them. You can't hit anything on them. They split perfectly, and they just know how to adjust for any fight.
Good team fighting. A lot of team synergy already coming in for LMQ. Having moved down to the United States,
something we said
play
before.
A whole season in the Challenger League. They have developed very good synergy, and it shows in their team fighting ability, and even just the way they're being patient right now. And yeah, a lot of solo plays by Xiao Xiao as well to create action, trying to make that right move.
Trying to use that culling to open up something for the stranglehold that LMQ has right now. It takes down another turret, 6-3 there, with Dragon coming up nice and close to that time. They're going to be able to get a little more gold under their belt.
That's all it is, though, is gold right there. LMQ didn't really take any additional map advantages off that Baron. They got one turret, Baron, and a Dragon, so a lot of gold. They're now 8,000 gold ahead of Curse, and probably about the 95th blue buff steal we've seen that hasn't been in possession of Curse forever now.
So what is causing LMQ to stop? I mean, you have Caitlyn. You got a little bit of wave clear as well for the turrets. Why aren't they dropping these turrets?
Curse is defending really well. Additionally, Ackerman isn't necessarily tanky enough to ignore the turret. They are waiting for Xiao Xiao to get picks in either side lanes or before fights, but Voyboy's doing a really good job of preventing that. It's really just also that Curse is giving up so much that LMQ is just kind of taking what is there instead of trying to overforce a play. Something that Curse is probably banking on them to do. There's been once or twice where Xiao Xiao has actually overforced and has gotten them killed twice, which is going to curb their aggression even more so. That's why this game is reacting so slowly. Curse is making good plays.
8,000 gold down, and it looks like they will start to try pushing down middle, but LMQ is going to force them back right away. They'll see Ackerman in the bottom lane and have to send someone down there. Quas might clear this, or it's just going to be Voyboy. Yep, no teleport down. Wow, half HP coming from that shot of Vasily.
Yeah, well, you can see the build he's put together. It's 342 attack damage, so that Ace of the Hole is doing 1,188 damage. There's no armor being built on the Cobb, so it's hitting him pretty hard. But look at the healing from Voyboy.
Yeah.
That should be up by the time they get to his turret siege.
Nice chunk of HP back onto Cop. No Name clears out any wards, so their escape, if necessary, is a clean one. Teleport could come in from Ackerman in the bottom lane, but I'm sure he would just run through the base as usual, start wreaking havoc from inside. See how Curse kind of coordinates this.
Much lower scoring game for LMQ. They had very bloody first 3 games in the LCS. Curse also had a tendency last split to, when they get behind, they would just kind of give up a lot of things for their team, but that was often when they didn't have great late game scaling compositions. This time they do, so it's actually a pretty valid strategy. There's always a chance Curse could turn this one around because of the Kayle and the Jax.
So many. I feel like Voyboy has like a mini game once they get into the fight. Like any Kayle would, but people are gonna die so quickly. You have to, it's like, who do I intervention? Where's it gonna go? Like you said, the target changing is immediate.
It's almost like a penalty kick.
You have to dive. You just have to go.
You just
either
have
way.
to dive in one direction and go for it, and just hope the guy kicks it that way.
Got it once so far. Good save on Dominate. We could see it coming up here as they push down mid lane. A great split here they have on LMQ, but that means this could leave Xiao Xiao pinching in from the backside that they aren't ready for. Get out nicely.
He
after
wants to get
taking
assassination, but remember, Curse would be ready to dive on him. He's got that memory.
that. He knows now. He's like, I think it's warded.
I think they're coming for me.
Tying his shoes for this one. All right, good vision. Special putting down the pink. They make sure that they have control. Probably going to need the back here. Spend some of that gold. Leave Baron kind of in a scary spot. Still got teleport on Quas. Actually, I don't think they'll be able to back with that happening.
But then look at the heal.
Good heals.
You know, with all the ability power Voyboy has and the fact that he's got 5 points in that heal, it's healing for 416. Definitely enough.
With a bit of movement speed.
Oh, did they actually get a catch here? Ooh.
Black Shield stopping that one. Does not get the passive movement speed off of W with the calling. So Cop's forced to back up there. So they use quite a bit. And they still put themselves in quite a dangerous spot. Coming from the top side is 2. And there's the teleport. He throws down the ward coming in for Ackerman, but it looks like he's going to shut that off. They did not like the situation.
The long teleport cooldown, not the best communication there by LMQ. The first aggressive move Curse makes in about 30 minutes, and it does get them a nice cooldown. Back to farming though, there's a big wave in the top lane. Quas wants to clean that up. He's actually caught up and farmed to Ackerman.
This is actually really good for Curse. They're able to push LMQ into their own base. Now have a bit of time to breathe, farm this out. I'm sure LMQ is going to start stepping on their toes in just a few minutes. They won't give them too much time to be safe and relax. We're still looking quite a gold
Might
lead.
go for Baron here. I mean, look at the items on Vasily right now. The big 4.
Wow.
80 carry items. He's really strong.
Those headshots going to be hurting if they crit.
It's going to be all about his positioning in these fights. He favors the full offense 80 carry builds. Caitlyn is very long range, but Vasily has a tendency to go in a bit too much sometimes. Depends if Curse respects her or not. Oh no, X special, he's dead.
There's
nice
a few
intervention.
shots. Oh, the Sonic Wave brings him all the way over, but he's got to get out of that. The Dragon Kick puts him back. He'll be all right. Ackerman's
He
going to
didn't
take
even
the
flash.
right
That
there.
was a disaster by LMQ. They burned everything, and Voyboy had the intervention on the right target. I didn't think he was in range for X special there. He didn't even have to burn flash. What a lucky Annie right there. X special's lucky day. Let's see if they can turn it into something.
No name. Still waiting with the rest of the team. They know they
do
can
not have Kale ultimate up right now, and they kind of have to check this. LMQ wasn't waiting in the right spot for a kill.
They always try to approach a fight with one off on the side. It's like a 4-1 side swipe. Not this time, though. Curse is able to do-si-do out of that one and keep themselves safer than usual. Voyboy pretty low on mana here, and he does not have too much regen for himself, so it looks like they're going to get out of this one. Everything's up if they do need to fight, but 13 seconds onto Dragon means that's going to be theirs. Everything they need to get back in this game is really going their way, and to have all their inhibitor turrets up right now against LMQ is a big plus.
Especially after watching all the challengers seen, and then 3 games of LMQ in the LCS, I never really thought I'd say, this is a game where LMQ hasn't taken enough risks.
Right?
But it actually is, because Curse is slowly coming back in here. They're getting a lot of power onto their carries, and they scale remarkably well. Quasta went to clear that big wave. Another great amount of vision control by LMQ. They're going hard for this. X Special sees it. Will we see the fight? Where's the teleport?
Flash Tibbers would be absolutely amazing. X Special gets more vision. Teleports come in. Still watching for that Tibbers to be coming out. He's going to throw a stun out to No Name. They're still waiting for the fight. Voyboy throws down intervention.
Oh,
Vasily and team sitting with quite a bit of HP. That one shot taking almost X Special out to bottom of 0 HP. And it looks like they're going to slowly walk Curse home on this one. Looks like they go back for Baron, and they're just going to toy with this right now. LMQ knows they are that much bigger.
Not a good fight for Curse right there. LMQ used the vision control and then collapsed on Jax the instant he made it into the fight. Curse trying to push mid, but this is a Baron for LMQ.
Big wave in the top lane for Curse. If they were able to get this, that would mean huge things to the inhibitor, but that is not the case. Voyboy and Cop actually still doing what they can. Curse, Special trying to stop out Ackerman, but that shield probably would have got himself killed on the Banshee's Veil, so he pulls out in the correct move. They still make a good move there. They have the inhibitor down.
Especially if they could
pressure.
Especially if they could get Dragon, but that's something LMQ is going to be running for immediately. Take another look at this fight, though. And they got a pretty good evault, but the follow-up wasn't there immediately. And the big difference was, look at how far back the Jax came in, right at the top of the screen. Xiao Zhao just takes him down with Vasily, and he had no impact in that fight overall. That meant that the dive from LMQ was successful in getting them through. And Curse actually gets the Dragon, but is it going to cost them an inhibitor of their own?
This could be big. That Tibbers is down. Everything was pretty much used in the last fight. Cop trying to back still. He's out towards the Dragon. Looks like they're going to get some good shots on. Vasily just keeping his eyes onto that turret. A few more shots. He's going to be the one taking it down.
Yeah.
Inhibitor for inhibitor possibly as they go back and forth.
The type of LMQ aggression that they needed to be showing about 10 minutes ago. Now they have the Baron buff. They need to be strong here and take the inhibitor down.
Banshee's Veil is given a little bit more security as they make their way into the fights. And skill shots and everything that can be fired out coming from Curse now to stave off the aggression.
Couple more hits from Vasily. They get Cop down low, and there it is.
There's the fight. Look at the calling, tickling Ackerman as he runs out. Going to be safe on that one. 43 minutes into the game. Both teams knock down the front door and give them what for.
The gold is still respectable for Curse, quite honestly.
Yeah, they actually closed it. It was above 8.
Yeah, and the more gold you get, the lower the gold percentage lead is. especially as people reach 6 items.
Yeah, later in the game.
It hasn't happened yet, but it will if this game continues on the trend that it is going.
It's close. Guardian Angel coming out for Vasily.
Yeah, a flurry of action we just saw. But really, LMQ just trading inhibitors for it.
It's almost like you kind of make LMQ mad, and then that kind of steams off as they do take something, and then they slow down. So they've kind of cooled off now that they took mid inhibitor. Ackerman's going to go ahead and farm this up in the bottom lane. 400 for Xiao as he sits right on the nose.
Jeez.
43 minutes into the game.
It's a whole bunch of CS, that's for sure.
Always.
And Curse has actually channeled a lot more farm into Quas here. You can see 321 CS.
Yeah, he was down by like 60, right?
Yeah, he was down a substantial amount. That's one of the big reasons Voivo hasn't kept pace, is they've been giving the farm to Quas in the free lanes. Oftentimes because he has the teleport as well, and it's by necessity because he needs to teleport into late game fights.
Curse waiting for a lot of things to be up here. Looks like a specials flash would be very useful. Heal won't be there for Cop, maybe there for Voyboy, but they already have the heal coming off of KLZ. A lot of things Curse needs to do exactly right. You can go to say that LMQ could make a few mistakes in the next fight, still come out on top. And that's what makes it really difficult for Curse.
Especially with the Zhonya's on a Xiao, he can get super aggressive and then still maybe escape if Curse decides to pull off on him. That's a lot of turret damage. It's going to force Curse to go in. Or even just burn some big cooldowns. One more wave of that, and that turret's going to be gone unless Curse gets very aggressive. I like what LMQ's doing here too, because they're making sure the super minions hit the Nexus at the time of the other minion wave. That's the way they want to time it at least, which would mean it would be a 4v5 defense, which would almost guarantee LMQ that bottom lane turret. See, Voyboy's trapped on those super minions trying to get assassinated, and they get the turret.
Doesn't go
Great
down
move.
all the way, but they are completely playing this one off the ball right now, using those minions in the mid lane, but the fight now in the bot. The inhibitor turret goes down. Voyboy, Sonic Wave, and the resonating strike connects, but everybody's backing up, trying to kite the fight. A very nice job so far. Curse looking good here. They get into the fight. Xiao in and out, almost taking down Quas in a single distortion with a Q, and it looks like they will keep it safe for now.
What a tough shell to crack Curse is putting up right now.
Yeah.
This is a very hard-fought turtle. One turret goes down, their inhibitor on LMQ side respawns, which means Curse will be getting their inhibitor back in about a minute. Take another look at this. Voyboy actually saves his ultimate here because he didn't think he was going to get the full burst of damage, and it was great because they needed his ultimate to push them back here. X-Special gets a catch onto Vasily. Mikhails cleans him up so he can still keep running away. And then it's just a matter of Curse piling on. LMQ never all into this one. And it ends up meaning they have to run away. They came for the turret, not necessarily for the fight. They get the turret, and they ended up trading pretty close.
Curse gritting their teeth on this one. They are not going to let go easy. That inhibitor is still up in the bottom lane, but an easy forced fight that LMQ can work with. Got a minute and 48 on that dragon. I don't know if really anybody's going to be needing that, or we're even going to get to it at this point. LMQ looks to make a strong push down the mid lane. Nobody else is going to the sides. It's right down the mid.
Curse wants a fight here on the flank. They're going to hope LMQ pushes up mid lane and try to attack them.
Squeeze into the right.
No, they decide better of it. I also see the builds. Voyboy and Copper both going offensive for their final item build, which, like I said, puts even more pressure on Voyboy and more control into the hands of Xiao. If they don't ultimate the right target, Xiao will instantly kill either of those guys, and that would be the game.
Slowly, look at, they can take the front of the base. Not even really worried about it. Going for Voyboy, they still kick him back. He gets taken out immediately. Moore's gonna be the bait, the one in the middle. The Zhonya's gets hit with a Tivers, and nothing happens there. Cop running for home, Dominate as well, looking for solace on the fountain, but it's not gonna happen, and that's gonna be the inhibitor. LMQ, a strong 46-minute game. Took a little bit longer than they wanted, but will go 4-0 on Super Week. Incredible play from a team. We gotta remember, didn't see any changes to the roster coming into the season either.
Yeah, they can play fast or they can play slow. Either way, it's going to end in victory for these guys. 47 minutes, they take down Curse, move them to 0-3, and take themselves to a perfect Super Week.
One word comes to my mind, and that's going to be consistency. At the top of that list is Xiao. 350 CS over almost every game, probably, if they had enough time.
416 this game and a 47-minute game.
Amazing.
I mean, by the end of that game, Boy and Cop were trying to build full offense because they had a gold deficit and they needed that power to cut through the tank line. That just opened the door for Xiao Zhao. You saw he baited out the ultimate without using his full burst. More landed the binding. It meant Boy is dead, and the instant that happened, the game is over.
Strong play all around from LMQ. Curse doing what they can, still having situations of coming back from behind. But overall, there wasn't even really mistakes that allowed that to happen. LMQ just played the mind games that really put Curse in the wrong spot.
I mean, what a stressful game for Boy in particular, having to deal with that great LeBlanc play the whole time. They actually outplayed him twice, but what did they really gain when they got a kill from it?
Right.
And that was about it. They were never able to transition it. That's the third game in a row here where Curse has had a really hard-fought game where they had a small goal deficit the entire time and then fell short, and that's got to be weighing on their minds.
That's really one of the things that becomes harder and harder for teams that fight against LMQ is you're going to win a fight against them, but you're going to leave battered, bleeding, and bruising and not able to do anything after because they will do everything they can as they're going down.
LMQ is just going to keep coming at you again and again. Yes, maybe you killed Xiao Zhao, but then Ackerman and No Name are going to be diving on your face, so by the end of the fight, you're all running away, flashing red health bars, and you can't take big objectives.
And they also have an off switch, which is quite interesting. We saw the one time No Name throwing a ward down, and even I thought they had it, but instantly canceled. They said no, they digressed from the situation, and they're able to do that, which a lot of teams kind of are still like, oh, we're going in, and that's where everything gets chaotic.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the future of LMQ here because it has been a 4-0 week, but they have yet to play the TSM, the Cloud9, maybe even the Dignitas, as we see, are already 3-0. There's a lot of power in the NA LCS this year.
Summer splits looking good. Remember to let us know what you think the jaw-dropping moments are from our games by tweeting at LO Esports. Use the hashtag LCS Big Plays. All right, now we're going to pass it over to the guys at the analyst desk to walk through LMQ's victory.
Thank you very much, Rib. So LMQ now 4-0, guaranteed first place, perfect super week. There's a few teams that have done that. They tend to do really well by the end of the North American LCS.
It's a good sign for a team if they go undefeated in the first Super Week. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to this game, though, because this was really interesting. And let's get to the very beginning of how LMQ really got control of this game. Yes, it was the mid lane, but I would argue that it's even more important was the jungler's effect on that mid lane.
Yeah.
Now, No Name, he's the one who makes the first move. This is back to my theme of the day, reactive playstyle versus taking the initiative. And we actually have a clip for you guys for the first blood because No Name comes for the classic gank from a jungler. Get your double buffs, go gank somewhere. And because Voyboy is Kale, up in the mid lane here, it's pretty neutral territory, actually. They're both standing just as far up in the lane. Voyboy right now is actually up 2 CS, but that's just because he has 2 CS more in the lane here. But let's take a look at the gank here, roll through the clip. No Name does take the initiative. He brings his ward to hop to, gets right in there, and they don't overextend into turret range until they're sure it is going to be a kill. Yes, he does miss the Q, and then he knows that Dominate hasn't shown up yet for the counter gank, so he feels safe then flashing in for it. So there's not going to be any turnaround. And that's the difference between Dominate going for farming one more camp and No Name taking the initiative to get that kill. From then, that chains for the whole game.
Yeah.
Because he got Xiao Zhao ahead in that lane, Xiao Zhao actually is able to force Voyboy out of the lane later and forces Dominate to come out of the jungle again to farm up the lane, and Xiao Zhao kills Dominate. So Dominate actually dies again for the same mistake there. And it just kind of chains all the way through the entire game.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because just the fact that Xiao Zhao is a little bit bigger snowballed the entire game. You saw him 1v1 in Quas over on the right-hand side, like under his turret. You saw like 1 minute, like waiting at the white camp. It was like, is he going to show up? He's going to show up. Finally, he just goes and 1v1s the guy. And that kept repeating. Normally, Jax is so good at killing AD carries. He went after Triforce Ruin King, went Randu and Zoman. And it's like, Kalen's going to have a hard time fighting a Jax. And then when you had that one big Baron fight, well, Xiao Zhao just destroys him because he's got like a Negatron cloak for defense, and he's like, well, I'm level 18, 350 CS, got 2 kills, and just blows the guy up. And so Quas never gets to do anything in team fights. He can split push, that's fine. And then that keeps kind of happening over and over again. Voyboy has to build this cooldown reduction build and like really reactive. He maxes heal second. He's trying to like play around with the ultimate, whatnot, but like you've got a long cooldown on Mikhail's Crucible, you've got a longer cooldown on the Kayle ulti, and Xiao Zhao keeps forcing something to be burned, something to be burned, something to be burned, and then when his stuff's back up, they just fight.
Exactly. I mean, this is literally the best example of snowball because it starts with just one gank in the mid lane, and Xiao turns that into forcing the mid lane away. I get another kill, drawing out the jungler, and everything just goes in Xiao's hands at that point. He has control of the map. They get full vision coverage of the entire map, and he does a great job of using that small lead to control the pace of the entire game.
Yeah, and then occasionally LMQ oversteps slightly. We talked about that in the pregame. Are they going to go for a little bit too much? We have a replay, 26 and a half minutes in, actually, if you can pull that one up. And if I understand correctly, it's one that actually Curse does pretty well in. So you're going to see that this was the game, right? Before I was talking about Xiao would go in and try to get Void to blow his ulti on something. And then, if LMQ did it smart, they would disengage and try again in about 20 seconds when their cooldowns are back. This is an example of LMQ getting their burst nullified by a Void ulti, but then being stuck in the fight, whether it's because of an Evelyn embrace or a Tipper or something like that from Curse. They can actually force the engage if Voidboy blocks it, and they'll be okay. So let's roll the clip out and watch how it begins. So No Name gets a Q down. They see Dominate's kind of low, so Xiao loses most of his burst. Xpecial gets the flash Tibbers, and that is what Curse has to do, is they have to play in that 15-second window. At this point, it's just a simple 5v4. Quas gets to fight alone in the back line, so he actually pulls the Silly and Moore's attention for a long time as they chase down a little bit more, which means Curse gets a 2-on-1. They get a 2-for-1 kill. Because again, they play in that short window where they actually did go on equal footing. Void got his ulti out, and then, well, LeBlanc with no cooldown's not very useful. Voidboy with his Eon is actually going to do something there in the fight, and you saw that.
And it was a planned counterattack from Curse. It was a well-planned counterattack. They were all grouped up. 5 members of Curse LMQ were spread out. They were not ready for this. Talisman of Ascension into stun immediately. The second time that Curse wanted to make Xiao pay for going so aggressive.
And things like that are what makes it hard for LMQ. This is why they played a slower game, is they're like, they know a straight-up 5-on-5 with a full engage is a lost fight. And you saw that. Like, even with a 6,000 gold lead for the entire game, they have to go in for one rotation, pull back, and then go when their cooldowns are back up. And that was why it was so hard for them, is Curse was playing safe, Curse was playing behind their turrets. That's why we saw a slower game. Yes, LMQ's aggressive, but they recognize when it's a bad fight. Every single time they've actually died for something, with the one exception getting counter-engaged on, it's been a good fight. 3v5 at Baron was still a good fight. Right? All that kind of stuff works. They identify, well, this one won't, so they have to wait it out.
I like how both teams actually changed their tactics throughout the game.
Yep.
So we have one last clip to pull up for you guys. This is the end game fight, and we want to take another look at how LMQ actually finished this one out.
Yeah. So to set this one back up again, Xiao goes in to blow Voidboy's cooldowns. Then the full team backs up, waits for the intervention to come off, and then goes back in. Also keep in mind at this point, the Mikhail's Crucible from Xpecial is also on cooldown. That's a 2-3 minute cool right there. So it's something that takes a while to get back up. And when LMQ can time these, they know they can actually win a fight.
Also, take a look at the positioning from Xpecial on the outside. Trying to come in for the back here so he can get those priority targets. He wants to, in the best possible scenario, stun Xiao and Vasily. So let's roll through the clip and see how it turns out. They get Voidboy's shield down, and from that point you can see Voidboy walks forward. He's like, hey, this is my biggest tool. We have to engage this fight. We have to fight now. LMQ do exactly as you said. They back out, and then No Name takes the opportunity to kick a very squishy Kale into the rest of the team, and LMQ clean up for the win.
So lack of counter engage for Curse, definitely hurtful there. Unfortunate for them. That didn't quite work out.
It's really hard to pull that off because Curse know that their comp relies on really, really accurate split-second timing windows. Kale ulti and flash Tibbers. They have to coordinate so well if they want to pull off a victory versus this LMQ squad.
Yeah, and think about the fact that their upfront burst not nearly as high, right? Where like LeBlanc could one-shot Jax, the cooldown boots, like attack speed, slightly focused build on Kale is not going to one-shot a Shyvana or a Lee Sin. So the frontline can go make moves and not get burned for it. And you saw that from the knockback.
That was the last thing I wanted to bring up. Against LeBlanc, that gets that fed early. Really, the only defense are Banshee Veils because they're going to block a spell. She's already got spell penetration, so even resistances aren't going to do much for you. See Jax get melted anyway. They weren't able to complete the Banshee Veils in time.
So one thing I want to think about strategically, actually, is if you fight against a Jax, is LeBlanc good enough to kill it? Very little AoE damage, meaning the E's not going to do much. And the fact that Jax builds 2 offensive items, LeBlanc has the damage core before Jax starts building a Banshee. And when we saw, again, Quas had a rough time because of this. This is something I want to keep tracking. Is that kind of a counter pick, like a cross-lane counter pick? Will it work well in fight?
Definitely depends on how the early game starts out, too, because top laners are getting denied a lot of farm nowadays.
Yeah, the 2v0s are hurting top laners. Well, we're just getting warmed up here. We've got more to go. After the break, we'll roll right into our next match, Cloud9 versus Complexity. We'll be back here with more League after this.
Both sides dominate. An intervention stops the rest of that damage. Beautiful hitting special. Lands the final flash. And Tibbers that he needed to start this one off. The inhibitor turret goes down. Boy, Sonic Wave. And the resonating strike connects. But everybody's backing up, trying to kite the fight. A very nice job so far. Crew's looking good here. Going for Boy. They still kicking back. He gets taken out immediately. Moore's going to be the bait. The one in the middle. The Zanyas gets hit with a Tibbers.